my bunnies, it's Ticky's Trinkets here, and today I have for you a new polymer clay tutorial. This took way longer than it should have, and I'm going to be telling you quite a bit of facts about it as I go along in the tutorial. This took me about 2 weeks working on it on and off. I did not anticipate this would be this difficult. A little side note, I left my ring at my fiance's house, that's why I'm not wearing it. But this is Funtime Chica. Somebody requested that I make it. I hope they actually watch it. I know it took so long, so, you know, they might be busy. But I hope you all enjoy it either way. And let's just do a quick little 360. Try to do all the lines on her as well. I'm trying not to. I'm holding my phone as usual because I'm lazy and I don't like getting the tripod out. But yeah, this took a little longer than usual, but for the most part she came out how I wanted. The arms sank. It was supposed to be holding the cupcake up, but I'll tell you more about that in the video. Just a lot of difficulties, but overall, she's pretty cute. Bit of focus. Okay, it's not focusing, but she came out at about 2 inches tall too. And throughout this tutorial I will tell you where I have edited things and had to change things. It shouldn't be too much of an issue though. My hands are like really twitchy. It's cold. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this so I can tell you all about it. See you there. Bye-bye. For this tutorial you'll need the following clay colors: Sculpey Orange, Sculpey 3 Pink, which is like a rose pink, white, and silver. First, we're going to start with the orange. Normally I start with white, but for this one, since the bottom is orange, I started with the orange color. I rolled out all the balls that I would need at the beginning of this. I might add more in the end, more later. We're going to start with the largest ball first. If I get quiet for a second, I'm drinking coffee, so yeah, I'm drinking coffee. Then I rolled out the largest ball into a teardrop shape as usual. And then I just took this teardrop and pressed it gently against the work surface so that it would sit nice and flat. After that, I just cut a little more than about 75% off the top. Now we're going to move on to the next two larger balls. And these balls we're also going to do a similar thing with, but you'll see in just a second. We're going to roll them into teardrops to start with. Then take the other side that's round and roll it between your fingers to make it elongated, like so that it's pointed at both ends, like a double-sided teardrop. It's the easiest way to explain it. This is going to be the legs, but obviously you can tell this is way too long. So we're going to cut this and adjust this right here. Honestly, I do cut it and make it a little shorter than that later, so you can make this shorter right now if you'd like to. Cut about half of that off. You don't need all that. Next, we're going to take the second largest balls I'm rolled out. These are going to be Funtime Chica's feet. So we're going to roll them in the fat little chubby teardrop shapes, as you can see right here, just rolling between your fingers as you can see me doing. And this is what they both look like. Then to make them flat on the bottom, you're just going to take your finger, press them down very gently so that they're flat on the work surface, just like we did with the torso. And we're going to do this with both pieces. After that, we're also going to cut off all the edges. Cut the fronts, however, don't cut them straight down, cut them a little bit slanted. Everything else cut straight down. And that's what it looks like after you cut all the excess off. Then to give it the indentations, use a reference picture. Pull up a picture on another screen, you know what I mean? Use a reference picture. Cut the line on the top of her feet, the line on the right and the left side of her foot, because it goes all the way around, as you can see here. Next, you're also going to cut each individual toe, so just do 2 lines through the slanted part of the foot right here. Then to just make sure it's a little more even on the sides, I just trimmed off the tips of the toes on both sides to make it a little more straight, like she looks in the picture. I used the picture of her directly from the game as the reference, and that's what it looks like, even though it does not look directly like the game. I just want to put this out there now. It's not supposed to look directly like her. This is my style. It can look like however I want. Next, let's go on to the next ball, you know, for all you haters out there. Anyways, we're going to roll this into a fat teardrop shape where it being more pointed towards the top. Then we're going to cut about 50% of it off. This is going to be her beak. And I also wanted to mention that you cut this in half, you could keep both halves and do a double-sided beak like she has in the game, but I chose just to do one beak. That's kind of my style. It's my style, my art. I can do it however I like. And this is what all the orange balls look like. The last one we're going to do is the one ball I have put to the sides. You can kind of see it up there in the corner. And it is this little ball. We're going to use this to make her cupcake. So we're just going to take it, roll it into a fat teardrop shape, like you can see right here. Not being too pointed at the top, but we're going to cut it off anyways. Cut off the top, cut off the bottom, make it flat on both sides. And that is the base for the cupcake, like the wrapper part. Next, we're going to go into the white Sculpey 3 clay. Go ahead and roll out all the balls you're going to need, which is all of these, give or take about 3, which we'll do later. And we're going to start with the largest ball. You know, you can always pause it or screenshot it so you can go back to the reference picture. Then just take the largest ball, pinching it between your fingers at about the middle so that the top is larger and the bottom is larger, the top is smaller. Then take that, put it in the palm of your hand, press it gently against your work surface. It should look like this, flat on one side, but still rounded on the other. You have to really learn how to hold the clay so that it keeps its shape. Then just cut the fat part off to make sure it will line up. Cut off a little to start with, not the whole chunk. Make sure to line up with the torso bottom. That way it looks like it seamlessly flows together. Next, we're going to go ahead and give her one of the indentions for her mechanical stuff. I don't know what to call it. The line that goes right down her stomach and her chest. Next, I just took this cutting blade, but you could just use your X-Acto blade. If you're doing this as a child, please have parents' permission, and cut 2 circles going towards the torso. Next, we're going to do her head. We're going to take this ball and roll it into kind of like a chunky teardrop shape again. Smaller at the top, bigger at the bottom. Then just put it on your work surface, and you can just press the 2 eyes into it. The back of her head will be a little flat, but it's still cute, trust me. You'll see pictures later. Next, I just went on ahead and glued the beak on. Again, you could glue both parts, that's just me. It's my art. Next, we're going to start on her arms. This is going to be the upper part of her arms. I believe that's called the biceps. Do like we did earlier with the teardrop technique. Roll it so it's pointed on both sides. Then just cut it at a bias so it'll stay on the body kind of like evenly. It's hard to explain. I'm usually better at explaining things, but today not so much. Next, we're going to take the next 2 largest balls that were underneath those. Go back to the pictures if you need to. And we're going to roll these into 2 fat teardrop shapes. And again, doing a similar technique. Roll the rounded ends too. They kind of look like bowling pins right here. And then I just went on ahead and cut the bottom and the top off. Again, let me tell you now, you'll see it in the next picture anyways. These parts of the arm were way too big. The top ones and the bottom. You can go ahead and make them smaller. They need to be much, much, much smaller. Next, we're going to take 2 little itty bitty balls, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll these into teardrop shapes for the hands. I just, I'm not perfect, so it's not going to be perfect, but I hope you all enjoy this video, and it helps you all. Next, just take your dotting tool and just wrap it around the dotting tool. I feel like that gives it a great palm on each hand. Then just take your X-Acto blade and just run it through on the front to the back to give it fingers. Then cut the bottoms off so that it'll sit nice and flat when you glue it to the arms. And next, we're going to take this last ball of white clay, minus the 3 at the top. This last slightly medium-sized ball, we're going to roll it out flat. This is going to be the plate for the cupcake to sit on. So we're going to take our large dotting tool and just pop it in the middle so that it gives it like a plate effect. And then after we do the indentation, just go ahead and stick the orange part that we made earlier, the base of the cupcake, on the circle. Pretty easy on that part. Next, we're going to make the legs for Chica. Well, the other half of the leg we haven't made yet. You're going to roll these teardrop shapes and then roll the ends of the teardrops just like we've been doing. But after you do that, we're going to cut them on a bias. Cut one up towards the left, cut one going up towards the right. That way it's slanted, and then you can go ahead and adhere this to the body. Do not glue it. You will need to detach these legs multiple times. Now we put the orange part on, and as you can see, I actually did way too much orange. So I'm going to have to cut it here, and then I'm going to take it and roll it out and make it just a little bit more pointed in the next picture, which you'll see in just a moment, which I did here. And honestly, I think I cut it flat again because it was still too long. And then I just went on ahead and glued the feet to the orange part, but I did not glue the white part of the legs to the torso. You will need to detach that to work with the sculpture, so don't glue that part yet. Next, this is what we have thus far, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start going on to the pink part of the sculpture. Again, these arms are way too long, adjust them accordingly. Here is the Sculpey 3 pink that I'm using. I think it's like a rose color something, I can't remember. Here is the balls that you're going to need for this, give or take a few that we'll do later. Next, you're going to start with the largest ball first. We're going to make the upper half of the torso. So we're going to do a similar technique to the beginning. We're going to roll it into a giant teardrop shape. We're going to take it and set it on the work surface. Place the palm of your hand directly over the center of it and press down very gently. Not to smush it, just to get it flat on one side. And this is how it should look when you press it down. Flat on one side, still rounded on the other. Then get your knife or your cutter and cut the little semicircles on it, just like we did earlier, but the circles are going outward so it fits together like a puzzle piece. You see what I'm saying here? One circle went down, the other went up. That way they connect together. Then just go ahead and cut off a good chunk of the top because we don't want her torso to be too long. And then just pinch it and roll it between your fingers to give her like a neck from her shoulder plates, because she kind of has like shoulders and a neck. Kind of cool. Then I just cut it and made it a little more flat after I rolled it out because it kind of bumped up. Next, I just took 2 metal wires, and it's just going to give support to the head. And I just went on ahead and stuck the head on there. I did not glue it yet though. Easier to work with if you don't glue everything. Like you see, her legs are detached now. It's so much easier to work with. Next, we're going to go ahead and glue her arms on. And right here, I took the parts that are pointed, like flat, and glued it to the body. You can go ahead and glue this. But again, make the arms a little bit shorter. See, right here, I took the forearm part of the arms, and I cut them on a bias too. That way they would sit more evenly on the biceps of the arm, as you can see right here. And I just glued that together. The arms just need to be shorter. I'm not perfect, okay? But I'm trying my best. Next, we're going to take this small ball of pink clay. This is going to be the top of the cupcake. So we're going to take it and just, you can either put it in the palm of your hand or go around with your index finger, flattening it towards the surface of your desk, like so. After you flatten it, you can get your glue, or you can just pop it right on, as so. I don't think I glued that part, so I don't think you need the glue. Next, we're just going to take these 2 little balls. These are going to be her eyebrows, because she has pink eyebrows. I'm going to roll these out into teeny tiny little teardrop shapes that are going to get on your nerves when you try to bend them. Then you're going to bend them into a slightly rainbow-like shape, and the rounded parts go inwards towards her face. The pointeds go outward. This took forever to get as perfect as I wanted. I'm apparently too much of a perfectionist. Anyways, I digress. We move on. These 2 little balls will be her cheeks. Just press them down flat and then stick them on her face. Pretty easy on that part. Next, we're going to move on to these 2 medium-sized balls. And these ones are going to be used to make the pink on her legs. So you're just going to take them and roll them out flat with your rolling pin or whatever you have. As you can see here, they're actually kind of rigid. I actually used a clay roller, like an actual roller machine, instead of my X-Acto blade to roll it out, because I got that for Christmas, so yay! But you could just use your blade to roll it out. Then I just cut each into gigantic rectangles. Then I cut those rectangles into tiny squares. They could honestly be a lot smaller than this. In fact, so much so that when I started cutting them here, I realized this was going to be way too big. But I still kept cutting because I didn't realize it at the time. So I cut at the top, I cut the bottom, and then I took my X-Acto blade and cut out the middle part. This was supposed to go on the bottom of her legs, her calves, but then I realized it was way too big, so I had to redo them. But they'll look like this shape, but they still need to be a lot smaller. As you can see here, how small they are compared to how they were. Yeah, it needs to be like maybe a centimeter or 2. Next, we're going to go ahead and make her hair, feathers, whatever you want to call it. We're going back to these 3 white balls we didn't use earlier. Taking a pointed tool and just poking her in the head. I know that sounds wrong. Rolling out those 3 balls in the teardrop shapes. And then, similar to what we've done earlier, roll the rounded side so it's pointed. And then after you point it, you also need it to be flat. So again, just take your X-Acto blade and roll them out one time to make them kind of flat. Not like paper thin, but you know, just flatter. Then you're going to go ahead and take glue and stick them down into the holes and glue them all together. I recommend putting one dab of glue in the center of all the feathers just to hold it better. Next, I went on ahead and took rubbing alcohol and cleaned everything because it needs to be cleaned several times because of white clay. White clay is a pain in the butt. Here's the first cleaning and how many cotton swabs I used. Next, we're going to move on to her speaker on her stomach. So we're going to take the Primo clay, the Primo silver. I like this color. It looks most mechanical. Roll out a very small ball. As you can see, the measuring tool on my cutting mat is really small. Then I just took the back side of my X-Acto blade and pushed it down flat to make it the shape that I wanted. Then I just took a dotting tool, my handy dandy old dotting tool, and I just poked holes all the way around, starting from the outer part and moving into the center. Excuse me, y'all. Next, we're going to do the rim of the speaker. So we're going to take one small ball of pink clay, and we're just going to roll this out into a long, thin strand. Then after that, we're just going to wrap around the silver speaker, and then right where it overlaps, you're going to cut it with your X-Acto blade, and then you'll blend it together with a blending tool. You can try to use your finger, but I found blending tools work better than fingers in this situation, so yeah. Then I just went on ahead and glued the speaker to the stomach because we're not going to need to take that off again. Next, we're going back to the white clay. Like I said, we needed a few more balls. This is just the way I did it this time, just to make it easier on me. So we're going to roll out 3 small balls, about the same size, honestly. 2 being the eyes. You just plop them right into the sockets. They should fit about so. After you put them in the sockets and like the way that they fit, go ahead and take your poking tool, just poke spots for the irises, pupils, whichever you want to call it. Next, we're going to take the other small ball of white clay that we rolled out. And this is going to be the cupcake's candle. So you're going to roll it into a small little log like so. And then you're going to go ahead and move on to the pink clay again. Like I said, give or take a few balls. Coffee. And we're going to roll out, again, 3 different balls. One slightly larger than the others, the other 2 really small. Roll the slightly larger ball out into a long, skinny log shape. Then just twist that around the white so that it'll look like this. After you do that, just roll it between your fingers or roll it on your work surface, like so. I rolled it on the work surface, but it's cleaner and more precise if you roll it in your fingers. I just got a little lazy. This is what it came out looking like. It's decent to say the least. But this was way too long, so I cut it to make it a lot shorter. And then I just went on ahead and stuck it on the cupcake. You can go ahead and glue this on if you'd like to. Next, we're going to move on to the other small balls. So we're going to roll these into teeny tiny teardrop shapes, as you can see right here. And then you're just going to stick them in the holes that we indented inside the head, like so. And then just gently press them in there to make sure they fit. I know his eyes look kind of derpy. Her eyes look kind of derpy there, but they don't look that derpy after I'm finished. Next, I just took cotton swabs again and rubbing alcohol and went on ahead and cleaned. That's what it looks like after I cleaned it again, because white clay gets dirty easy. Next, we're going to take our X-Acto blade, and we're going to use this to do all the lines all over the sculpture, because she's mechanical. First, I did the front side of the face, goes under the eyes and over the cheeks. And then I did the back side of the head. It's just like a cross section. Then after I did that, I did the back part going all the way down, not just the white part, the orange and the pink too. Next, I turned her back around, and I did the front lines. On the front, her lines go over the speaker and wrap around her back, and the orange went down through her torso, and see where it connects around her back. Again, use reference pictures to help you out. Then I just did the lines on her arms on both sides. This is just one for example. It's like a half a square. Then I did the lines on her legs. Again, it's like a half a square, and then one other line going down. I just showed you 2 different sides for a better angle. Alright, right here, for some reason the picture of her being in the pan got deleted, but this is after I baked her. I glued the cupcake on. Do not put the cupcake on. As you can see, her arms already fell while baking. but I'm still happy with the position. She still looks cute. You can put tinfoil under her arms to prevent that. But then I just took the black clay and dotted on the pupils after I glued that on. Took a pencil to draw on the eyelids. I took this apple barrel pink to do her eyelids. Honestly, I should have mixed it with white to make it a little lighter, but it's still cute. Went on ahead and painted where I drew the outlines at. After that dries, make sure everything dries before you move on. I took my white acrylic paint and my smallest dotting tool to dot the little glimmer of light in her eyes, the top and the bottom, just to give her a little more life. After that has dried, you can go ahead and do several coats of glaze. I usually do 2 to 3 for sturdiest, and then you are done. And here's just a few pictures of the final product. It took forever to finish this, so I'm sorry it took so long to get this up, but I hope you all love it so much, because I'm so very happy with how she came out. Stay tuned for even more tutorials from me. Here's the back side as well. And again, I'm happy you all came by to see it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next time in my next tutorial, or my next video. Bye bye.